All right, we have Erik Blomberg, the CEO of Eleiko, here with us today. And if you followed Barbell Shrugged back in the day, you will have seen his face and heard his voice already, because we went out to Sweden a long time ago and did one of my favorite shows of all time, where we got to talk about the barbell and its evolution out of the waffle iron and all sorts of stuff. So it was a real pleasure being able to do that show before. It's a pleasure being able to bring you back on here, Erik. And you know, talk. What I'm really interested in talking to you about today is a few things, but leadership is one of them because we we got on the phone about a month ago. We were talking about what this means to the world. What does this mean to our individual companies? What does it mean for us as individuals? What does this mean for our business? What does this mean to the world? And I'd like to cover all of that today, and really learn. And it is cool that you're in Sweden, and one of the really cool blessings that I've been able to enjoy is with my job is being able to interact with people all over the world. So yesterday I was talking to somebody in Jordan, and today I'm talking to you in Sweden, and tomorrow I'll be talking to somebody in Australia. So really getting a view of uh, individuals on the ground in different locations and how this is being managed. How's it going in Sweden overall?
Well, it's good. It's good to be with you here, Mike. It's so good to see you again, and
No.
I'm glad to join the show here. Uh, no, I think it's interesting because of course the countries take different approaches here as well to what's happening. I think Sweden has been uh, taking quite a different approach here compared to many of the other sort of main countries. We've remained open as a society, still taking on some hard measures on social distancing and cutting back on large events, and it's a different society, but it's still kept open, and there's been support for that as well in among the population. So I think it's an interesting thing to follow. Of course, you need more time to really tell what's the right direction here. But I think we've taken a rather different approach, and the government has much more put the responsibility on the individual than restricting freedom to do what you want. And I think so far that people have sort of taken that on board, and they support it. But of course, it's we feel it's a different environment regardless. It's a
Yeah.
much more sort of just the mood is much more muted in a way. So it's a very different way of living, and no one is sort of traveling. Everyone is it's a kind of a calm that's settling on society, which is very different from when everything was as it used to be.
Yeah. You spoke of personal responsibility and the leadership. I mean, when I think about leadership of a country, it's obviously we think about government
Yeah.
and all that. And so what I heard you say that there is a much bigger emphasis on personal responsibility there. Is
Yeah.
that a common, every culture, every country and every culture has their cultural differences. Is that common in Sweden? Is personal responsibility something that's taught or recognized?
Yeah, I think so. I think in general, Swedish people, I think the whole Swedish model is built on sort of a socialist sort of foundation where solidarity, you sort of help each other. I think the Swedish model is also quite, sort of perceived to be sort of a consensus-driven decision model. If you look now at what's happening, I think the Swedish government really puts a lot of confidence in the health authority and the experts that constantly monitor what's happening, and their guidelines is really the leading recommendation for the people. So I think in general, politics has not really been a major force when crisis happens. It's really been that you lean on experts and you come together, you take your responsibility as an individual and as a society. So I think it's sort of part of the Swedish culture. Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of Americans they hear the words like socialist and they think about like there not being as much freedom.
Yeah.
But my experience of being in Sweden and just talking to you, I'm not hearing that at all. Like there's
No, I
still
mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, I personally don't view that as a sort of a freedom restricting part of it. I think if you look at, I mean, we feel rather free here. So, and
yeah,
you
I've
look
been
at
there. There's like no lack of like pretty free.
yeah, and we have like we have like different elements as well, where you have like we have, for example, you can basically um, uh, be at any piece of land in Sweden. You have that right by law. It's called allemansrätten, and you can really so you don't really you can't really have that type of trespassing that you see in other places.
Yeah,
And I think that's something that actually offers us here a sense of a lot of freedom.
yeah,
But of course, it's also driven. I mean, driven. I mean, you rely a lot on the group, on the people,
right.
on the society. So it is. It's sort of it's definitely shaped. It's shaped me, and it's shaped Sweden as a country.
Yeah, the personal responsibility thing is really interesting. I start thinking about different cultures because in America here, a lot of people really want freedom and independence,
Yeah.
but personal responsibility is rare. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm going, okay, how do we hold both of these things? Like how can we have uh it's like anytime somebody does not want to have personal responsibility about something,
Yeah.
they're giving away freedom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like if you have an entire culture, like a place like Sweden, where personal responsibility is something that's baked in and people take pride in and actually know what it means, because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know what it means
Yeah.
to take personal responsibility, then it's a well-oiled machine. Uh, as everything that comes out of Sweden is like, oh yeah, nice tight lines, everything's a lot of precision, and I imagine that comes from that perspective. Like
Yeah.
culture actually does creates that.
No, I think, and I mean, every culture is different. It's different, of course, and every country
Mm-hmm.
is different. And we're not that many people here, and we have a big still. I mean, we don't. We live in a different way, and we work in a different way. So of course, every country has, and it's different demographics and all that. So of course, it's there are differences. But I just think a lot about this part when I also look at what's happening in our industry right now. If we look at the fitness industry, for example, I think just the personal responsibility part is almost lost at the moment. So you just see how everyone is trying to create this new way of delivering fitness to people, and they almost forgot that the biggest impact can come from the individual herself. And I think it's just interesting to see how this will all play out. But I mean, just taking care of yourself and others by not being out with people when you're sick, and taking care of your personal hygiene, and making sure that what you leave is left in the same clean condition as it was when you came. These are sort of the best measures you can take these days, I think. And it's almost like you look at countries all over the world right now, and it's just this process of trying to create the ultimate environment for the individual, but not really capturing the individual's responsibility.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. It's beautifully said. Since I met you, one of the things that I really love is you're an advocate for building a stronger world. You know, building a stronger individual, which builds a stronger world. So this all makes a lot of sense. I'm curious about what you think. So a lot of people who are really into health and fitness listen to this show. I imagine a lot of them like, yeah, I got my shit dialed in.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you what do you think that fitness professionals, someone who's a coach or somebody who is working in the fitness industry, what what's a good way of approaching this situation that you've seen?
I mean, I think this is really interesting as well. I think that's again where I mean, right now there's a lot of discussion around, of course, the sick people and how many people die every day. What's the death count? What's the death per capita per country? And you're sort of looking at it, and it's a very sort of, you're counting really downwards the whole time. And I think if you, I mean, so far there's little talk about the fundamental solution here, which is actually that we need to build a healthier society from the ground up. And I
That's
think,
definitely missing. Everyone's so
yeah,
focused on well, we had a governor in one of our states, the governor
yeah,
of Illinois, said that
yeah,
they're not going to open up until there's a vaccine,
yeah,
which
exactly.
is fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, if
And
you,
everyone's focused on some pill, but no
yeah,
one wants to talk about just yeah, well, you're
yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, keep those projects going, and keep that research going, and keep finding that vaccine and that pill, of course, and treatments. But we need to, I mean, if we could shift just a fraction of the resources that are put into that right now and shift it to preventive actions instead, I think it would be, of course, it's a much longer term process, but I mean, that's where you really solve for these issues in the future. We are working here in Sweden with one of the industry organizations that works to promote physical activity, and they have an interesting study where they actually look at how much would you, how many more both years of living, but also healthy years of living, would you gain by moving from an inactive lifestyle to either an active or a very active lifestyle. And then you could gain, if you start in your 30s or in your 40s, you could gain 6, 7 healthier years, and you could get over 10 years of living extra on average. And I think it's just quite interesting now when you look at what's happening. It's all just counting downwards and counting the death counts instead of actually focusing on giving people an opportunity to live healthier and longer lives from the beginning. So I think it's important for everyone that's in the industry to talk about this, and also talk about it in a way where you don't just relate it to your own business and your own sort of activity. You need to connect it in a way where it can actually reach people, and that's the hard thing, and that's why you don't. That's why I think you still see such a big disconnect between what benefits our industry has for people and what's sort of being discussed at political levels where major decisions are made on policy. So I think it's very important that we as sort of industry professionals keep on talking about that message.
yeah, yeah, keep hammering it home.
Yeah,
One of the things that I've noticed is uh, I'll, the perception of the general public, well, the mainstream, the general public is that most health and fitness professionals that don't wear lab coats or don't have a medical doctor, an MD next to their name or whatever, the moment something dangerous happens,
yeah,
the moment there's disease, or the moment, really it's the moment that they're scared, like
yeah,
I'm afraid, they they shift all their attention to the authority, or
yeah,
the perceived authority, and all the credibility tends to shift to organizations that are associated with the government or with the medical board or something like that.
yeah,
And so one of the things that I've noticed is the more outspoken I've become about, you know, simply being healthy have actually gotten some resistance from. It's like people have been following me on Instagram or listening to the podcast for years, and I've said a lot of stuff that people would consider to be crazy on here. I know
Yeah.
that edge pushing, and no one says a word. But the moment I start talking about, maybe you should focus on other things than just the vaccine, people freak out, and it's really, really
No, I agree. I agree, and I think that's a really tough one, and I think it's it's one of the main hurdles I think our industry hasn't really cracked and passed yet. I think because there's a psychological effect there, and I mean it gets very. It's both on how you how much you train and how much you and what you eat. It's a very, very difficult conversation to have without making people feel judged and feel targeted. And I think that's a tricky one, and I don't think I have the solution for that, because that's a psychological thing. But if we look now at what's happening, of course, if we look at the statistics now, I mean it's really predominantly people with underlying conditions, and of course age is a matter as well, but that those are usually correlated as well. So I mean it's something we need to, I think, be able to talk about in a sensible, non-judgmental way. I just read a newspaper the other day, one of the major newspapers here, where that message was brought forward about actually trying to shift focus on just the vaccine and just the medicines for this as the solution. And I think it was a really sensible article from my perspective. And I think the first comment that came was that it was a negative comment about now someone is out just trying to push people to train more and bring up this hype and really put pressure on people. And it was just interesting that was the first comment on what was really a very, very common sense view in my mind. Just that you need to focus on the foundational things, build a healthier society.
I think at the core, this may trigger some people, but at the core of it is being out of touch with reality. People, the fantasy is that I can take a pill or I can just go get a shot and I'll be healthy.
Yeah.
People want a lot of things, but they're not willing to do what it takes to get there. And then if people are so bought into their fantasy that if you point out the requirements for accomplishing what it is they really want, they call you crazy. They're like, oh, there's something wrong with you. It's like people, and we end up back at personal responsibility.
No, I agree, and I think also like the flu or like any type of, if you get a cold or I think what's also missing a lot is just people reflecting on themselves much more. And I think, I mean, if I go to myself, I can pretty much often connect back a cold or if I get sick to me having traveled too much, slept too little, been out partying, doing something that really reduces my ability to withstand anything that comes at me. If I've been out, and so I think that whole process of reflecting on that, and every time you get sick, it's not like you just sort of course you're unlucky and all that, and you're being exposed to something, but I think it's important to really try and connect it back as well to what state was I in when this happened, where have I been, and how have I sort of spent my days in the last week. And then I think I hope people will actually realize that it's often possible to connect it to things that you can actually affect on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and I think a lot of people miss it because it's invisible. Like, it's they can't see it physically hit them. No. And so it does take a degree of of self-reflection and introspection, which most people never take. It's really cool to hear you say that. I've had the same experience of I get sick and other people may comment, "Oh, it like came out of nowhere," and I'm going, "No, I was asking for it.
Yeah,
I really pushed the limits. I was emotionally like I had this emotional stress that was
yeah,
dealing with that or I wasn't dealing with. Maybe I let the emotional stress become too much, and it's like oh no, like the last time I was sick was 3 years ago.
mm,
It really took me down and for a few days, and I knew exactly what it was. It
yeah,
was I was experiencing like I had like a lot of emotional triggers going on that week. There was a lot of stress, and
yeah,
then I got sick, and I'm laying in bed, and I go, I know exactly why I'm sick right now.
yeah.
It's all that stuff. It wasn't anything I ate. It wasn't,
Yeah.
it was something
I think
else.
I think that's something that is important, and I think if people start to reflect more on that, I think you would be able to understand much better where you're at, and also when you feel you. I mean, you can also feel when you are very like weakened, and then you should be extra careful, of course, and then you should definitely try to recover and rejuvenate. So
Yeah,
so. But sometimes, I mean, it is hard sometimes, and sometimes you just, of course, push through, and you get sick. But uh, I just think it's good to reflect on that.
yeah, yeah. Uh, you're a guy who is introspective, does spend time in reflection. Um, Throughout the course of your life, what's made the biggest impact in being aware of these things, being aware of your energy, being aware uh, of like, oh, I get sick because of all these things. That requires a level of awareness that most people lack. What are some things that you've done that have given you that edge?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I've been through. I've had periods where I've been for longer periods working too hard and living a life which makes me more exposed to of course these types of things. But I think I mean, for me, meditation has been a crucial tool for that. So just meditating and taking the time to try to connect with. I mean, initially, just where you are at that very moment has been crucial, I think. And if you start to sort of just eliminate things that you have in your mind, because everything's happening up here, I think, and in your head and with your emotions. And if you can just start to understand that better by calming yourself down and trying to noticing more about how you feel and how you think and why you think that. I mean, that's helped me. So just the routine of meditating is helpful, and I think that also connects better with how other people feel as well. It's easier to sense if someone is at a is not balanced or is having very bad emotions or a bad state. So I think. But I mean, this is also it goes up and down for me as well. But I think the meditation has been probably the key thing for me to be able to, I mean, for myself, connect much more, and that in turn helps me connect with other people as well better, I think.
Yeah. Have you ever taken classes for meditation or use apps? How
I've
did you
used
learn?
apps and mostly apps. I've done a couple of just classes with people who've done it, but I do more of um, I've done a few apps as well.
Yeah.
I did this waking up app with Sam Harris some time back, and I found that to be useful. But then I mostly just prefer sitting with either just in a quiet place or with some monotone sound of some kind that sort of repeats in my head, and that because I need to come down and really focus. Well, basically, not try not to think too much. But I'm still learning a lot there. So I think that's something which is interesting to explore more.
Yeah. Very cool. How, where do you see, we'll take a left turn here. Where do you see the fitness industry going right now? So you run a company that outfits uh, sports teams, that outfits gyms, home gyms.
Yeah,
You guys make the best equipped fitness equipment on the planet, and I'm curious about what you see happening in the market. You obviously had to, or you don't know if you had to, but you definitely shifted. You know, if I go to your website right now, the focus is on the home gym. You
yeah,
know, build
yeah.
out your home gym, which was not the case before this. You pivoted
Yeah,
into
no,
more hardware.
definitely, and I think that's of course what's happening right now, and I think we're present in many different countries and all the main ones with our own people, and the commercial fitness market is of course experiencing some clear difficulties right now with gyms and facilities closing down completely, and then this whole conversation about how they can open up and how they can run their business. So and we've seen that as well. So we've seen a drop in sales to the commercial segments, and of course also to the sports market where there aren't any international competitions at this point, and they're also trying to figure out how to restart and how to come back. So we've seen that, but I think on the other hand, it's very clear that the demand for fitness is not going away. So I think it's remarkable how it's shifted to people now trying to find other ways to consume fitness and do it. And I think it's clearly been a boost for home training, and we've of course, I mean, we to bring the company through this crisis as well. It's important that we also are able to quickly adapt. So we've accelerated a launch of an e-commerce platform that we launched in the UK in April, and we've been rolling it out in different countries since then. And we've also, of course, with our own sales force, worked much more towards the home market, and it's a very clear increase in demand there. So that's sort of covering up for at the moment what we lose in other parts. But I think the interesting thing is to think about what would be sort of the lasting impact here. And I think, as I said, I don't think the demand for fitness will go away at all. I actually think the opposite, and I think it will increase as a result of this. So I think people will become much more aware of these things, and ultimately, even if the discussion right now could be even more on this topic, I think people will realize that they need to stay healthy and stay strong and stay fit. So it's just going to be interesting to see how this is going to play out. But I think the commercial fitness market will come back. But I think that's probably one of the markets that needs to adjust the most as well. I mean, there will be a different way of probably operating some facilities, and quite strongly driven probably by country as well, and different regulations and how different governments approach this. But I think just from the sort of the member, I think the fitness experience will sort of be ejected out from just the facility and enter many more places in society. So I think the home will be there. I don't think that will go away as quickly as the demand for sort of commercial gyms will come back. I think the workplace will have a different role to play in the future. I think public space will have a different role to play as well. So I think there will be emerging a type of a hybrid fitness model as well, and I think it's extremely important for anyone in the industry to try to understand that and do the best assessment you can of it, and then try to adjust, and because there will definitely be opportunities here.
Yeah.
So,
One of the things that we do, so I have, um, clients in my mastermind who, as this hit, we started pivoting and adjusting and all that. And one of the women in our group, she's now training construction workers. like
Yeah.
getting out and helping them out where that wasn't happening before.
No.
She's getting out there and helping them mobilize before and after work and all this stuff. So I think you're right on that, and that people are already expanding. Like a lot of in the business world, people are expanding that corporate uh, fitness culture, which is great. But the other thing is we know that changes are happening. Gold's Gym, I heard they went bankrupt, but also we've had some people who own some big box gyms reach out and want to become coaches.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wow, you owned like one of these major franchises, but now you want to come in and coach.
Yeah.
There is that's a major shift to go
Yeah.
from running a big box gym where you're basically just running it by the numbers and members and running ads and running a sales force and some
Yeah.
personal trainers to going, I want to coach people.
Yeah.
That's a big shift. And so, I mean, it's a mixture of recognizing that the market is changing,
Yeah.
but also self-reflection of like, what am I doing here? Why did I get in the fitness industry in the first place?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, what do I really love about this?
Yeah.
And then another approach that we're taking with any of our coaches is a lot of times people come to me and they go, well, what do you think we should do? Is this the right answer? And I go, I have no idea. Go ask your clients. Your
Yeah.
clients will tell you what it is they want. So we're talking about things are going to shift, and we're making there is predictions. It's like, yeah, the
Yeah.
big box gym model is going to shift.
Yeah.
So if anything, it should be motivating to people to really get in contact with the people they're serving or the people they want to serve and find out what they're interested in or
Yeah.
how they want to be served. Because a lot of people want to just go back to the gym.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, of course, just the remote delivery model now, where you can train people and bring content on in different forms. I mean, that's clearly on the rise, and I think that's gonna continue to increase. And I think already you see a lot of gym chains as well, operators taking on that and delivering another type of product to their members. But I mean, just having worked for a couple of months now remotely, mostly, I think everyone in business has experienced that. It sort of gets a bit boring as well in the end. So you, in a way, you can reconnect with a lot of things that you had lost before, like just calming down, not traveling too much, reconnect with nature, and just finding a pace, a rhythm, which is different than. I mean, for those who are living sort of a busy work life. But I also think in general that people need a place, and I think they need a physical place as well where they can connect with other people. And I mean, the whole social role that a facility or a place is critical. And I think you can build that in a sort of an online model to some extent, and you can build great brand loyalty and really build a community there. But I don't think you can replace the physical meeting and just a high five after a workout with someone, or just the direct coaching when you teach someone to lift. So I mean, this will sort of balance out at some point, but I think it's important to try to understand what will be the lasting impact there, and to what extent will things change.
Yeah.
But I mean, coaching definitely, I think is going to be. I think there are many people who are actually going to value this much more, and they will be ready to also pay for that in terms of getting the right help and motivation and coaching to reach their goals or a healthier life. So I definitely think that's a good place to be in.
Yeah. The we had a lot of coaches when this started. They were having fun.
Yeah.
They go, oh, I've always wanted to do on. They were A lot of them well, a few of them were not doing online. They were only doing in person, and then they were forced to go online.
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh, this is really fun." And then about a month in, they go, "I don't want to. Like, if I have to lead another workout in my living room while staring at a screen, it's just I'm
Yeah.
going to go
Yeah.
crazy."
Ah,
So yeah,
and
that's
you can just go
important.
to I mean, the educational space has been experimenting with online and distant education for many years now. But I mean, the dropout rates there, and how much people actually do of that type of course is not that encouraging. So you still have, I mean, the universities and educational institutions. They still play a hugely important role to train people. But I think it's just going to be very interesting to see how where you find the sweet spot here.
Yeah, yeah. What's the next move for you?
Well, right now we're focused on, of course, we continuing now to roll this e-commerce platform out, and that's a big thing for us. I mean, we've been and I mean, our roots is really in the professional sports market, professional weightlifting and powerlifting and para powerlifting, and then of course the performance market with markets with universities and professional sports teams and military and commercial gyms. So we come from a very, of course, business-oriented background, and that's the way that's where we are really knowledgeable, and we know that type of business well. But we're very keen to connect as well with the consumers directly, and so it's going to be the interesting challenge for us is to really build out this offering and try to build an integrated B2B and B2C business here, where we can really get our products and our message and what we stand for out to more people. And that's going to be fun. And it's already fun and interesting. And I think we've always wanted to be very close to the user in everything we do, even though we often sell to gyms or federations in different sports. We want to connect with the product and the brand and everything we communicate with the lifter, the person who actually grabs the bar and makes it, brings it over one's head.
Yeah, that's a big deal to shift from mostly B2B to go into a B2C or the consumer market.
Yeah.
And it's almost, I mean, my experience of doing something like that is almost like building a new business.
Yeah, exactly. And we've kind of treated it as a startup within the company, at least up until now. And then we, of course, accelerated everything now with what happened with COVID. But I think I'm very careful with we're not aiming to shift anything here, but we want to open up a new channel and reach more people with our products, while we actually think that will help our business customers as well. So
Yeah.
it's all about building a much better customer journey for anyone who wants to be connected to our company. And I think it's a tricky thing, and I think both internally and externally it's important that you really are clear on what you're trying to achieve here as well. And as you say, we it could be seen as we're shifting and moving away from something, but that's really not what we're doing. We are very, very careful and committed to our sort of core customer and user group, and that's going to remain. But I think actually we can do this in a way where we make it better for them as well by just connecting with much more people. And for a gym, for example, to be able to connect with their members and help them understand the equipment better and help with education and inspire. I mean, our goal is also with the brand and what we do and how we interact with people to hopefully have some kind of inspirational effect on people as well. So it's definitely a challenge, but I think it's very interesting, because I think at this point in our company right now, I think we can do it in a way where we actually make it build a better experience for everyone.
Yeah, that's one of the major reasons I love you guys is you're so thoughtful about every piece. You know, a lot of people in a time like this are scrambling around and just trying to like patch holes or trying to make something work or fix something. And the level of awareness that's present and the ability to go, okay, we need to consider this, all the things that it sounds like you're considering is much greater than what most companies, when I'm hearing other companies talk. It's like, oh, Erik's considering way more than what a lot of other companies do, and I've experienced that with you before, and so this is not a new trait that's emerging, but it's something that is really shining right now. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think I think, of course, when something hits like COVID, which hits unprecedented, hits the whole world, when it's so globally connected as well. Of course, you can quite easily go into a complete crisis mode, and you start to just trim everything you can, and you think it's going to be doomsday all across. But I think the interesting thing is to take the long perspective. Try to take the long perspective. You need to do things, I think, short term as well. You need to be very careful with the costs and cash flow, and making sure that you sort of don't do things that you don't have to at that time. But I think it's important to find. I mean, I've always been a strong believer in the force of reallocating as well. So if you can find something where you actually can be active and you can move forward, then you can just shift as many resources as you can put into motion, so to speak, to that field. And I think that's kind of how we wanted to try to approach this period as well. So we've had people from the office for weeks out in the warehouse packing orders and helping out in production, and it's just been interesting to see how much you can actually do with just helping out and shifting focus, and you can do that on an individual level as well. I think it's your own biggest resource is time, and you can very clearly shift your time anytime to something that you think is more important right now. So I think it's always it's tough when things happen, but it's always an opportunity as well when something big happens. It will bring a lot of changes, and that always brings opportunity as well.
How do you set do you have a system for setting priorities? Because that's what it sounds like. I mean, there's a strategy conversation really, where it's okay. Let's keep the long game in mind while also making sure we're good in the short term. Do you have a process for creating priorities in the business?
I mean, I think we have kind of a slow ongoing process for building strategy. And I think that's probably one. I've been in the business now for 8 years as the CEO. And I think that's probably one of the things that sort of, I was not expecting strategy to be so continuously important for us. And I think that's sort of an everlasting process where you build strategy and you calibrate, and sometimes you pivot quite strongly to one direction. And we sort of constantly do that. And we did quite a big work last year on that. And we sort of implemented the next strategy in the company up until 2024. So we try to work in the Olympic cycles here. And that's important. But then when something like this happens, and you need to be very short term, you need to drive, of course, sales. You need to keep the company surviving and going. Then everything shifts a bit. So when you get very short term, but I think, and that's always hard. But I think it's just I tend to just rely I delegate a lot more in those instances. I've realized I just rely a lot on the people I really trust and know that they will do a good job, and then and I try to let them have as much freedom to act as possible, and I think you often see such potential coming out in those times. Right now, 2 months into this, we just this week sat down and reconnected with the strategy and looked at where we were when we went into the year, which was sort of a quite stable position, and we knew what we had to do in the year, and we were working on all that. And now we try to reconnect with that and see, are we aligned still? And I think the good thing was that we are very aligned with where we set out to be already in the beginning of the year. And I think that's important as well. It's you can get a bit lost when you're just in crisis mode the whole time. So it's important to just take a step back and look at, are we connected still with our long-term plan here?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with some of the guys on my team last week where we were asking ourselves, why have we done so well, and also looking at, are we still in alignment when we look at the 10-year vision?
Yeah,
we have a vision that's 10 years in the future. When we look at the 10-year vision, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed about the 10-year vision.
no,
But a lot shifted in the last few months.
yeah,
And it's really cool to witness the holding this vision that's 10 years out. There's a
yeah,
lot of things that can change in the next 10 years, but we're still going that direction. And it's actually very grounding and calming to go, oh, that's still where we're going. And so I think that I imagine y'all have a long-term vision that everyone is aware of. And
yeah,
that's also helpful because this quarter, this 3 months could be really rough, or a lot of unexpected things come up, but the knowledge of that 10-year vision actually creates a lot of certainty in a way,
yeah.
and can be very calming to people in and around the company.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's I can share that feeling as well. I feel the same thing. So it's sort of a reassuring thing when you sort of go back and look at what was. I mean, because you can almost forget it at times when you're so much into this kind of period and so much happening, and you have to respond to so many things, and you also have the psychology of media and different. So it's sort of you need to try and distill that a bit, and just reconnecting with your long-term plan is a great way. So I think it's. I think the difference with this thing is that it's so persistent and has been so persistent. People thought it was going to be for a couple of weeks, a month, a couple of months, and I think people are starting to realize now that it's sort of this is going to hang on to you for a while, and there might be even lasting changes here to how we live our lives, and that's also a tough thing I think for people, because it's there's a lot of potential in an individual or an organization or a team. When things happen, they come together and you can achieve much more than you could achieve before. But you need to find ways also to break that sort of high performance continuously. You need to find time to recover and try to I think reconnect with your long-term vision and goal is important, because now I think people realize that you need to maintain high performance here for quite some time, and that's quite tiring for companies and for people.
Yeah. We did a sprint, but now I actually cut back my own workload by I've basically been on vacation for the last 10 days. I've only been doing podcasts. I've done minimal work.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It's, we have to take a break, and it was new, but after we realized, oh, this is, we're going to slowly ease out of this. We can't keep it pedal to the metal the whole time.
No, and you need to find the good things as well. I mean, I've realized this time has always been the time when I travel the most. So different trade shows and different championships in places, and now I've been in Sweden for the whole time, and I've just sort of met the Swedish spring for the first time in years. So I've sort of enjoyed that in a way, and so you need to find the good things as well, because there are always some good things to lean on.
Yeah. Well, speaking of seasons in Sweden, will you guys be throwing that summer solstice party?
Sorry, which one?
The summer solstice.
The party here in Halmstad, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that
Well,
happening?
I think, well, anything above 50 people is not happening. So that one is not happening. No. So we still have those type of events will not take place. At least we haven't seen anything that changed.
I told Mike Salemi, I said, I'm going to be talking to Erik, and if they're going to be throwing that party in Sweden, we should fly there.
They should both come.
Yeah, we both do want to come out and hang out.
Definitely.
But Erik, thanks for joining us today. Anything you want to leave people with before you go?
No, I'm happy. I'm happy to be on this with you, Mike, and always a pleasure to speak to you. I love what you do for people.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Where can people find the company if there's a coach or an athlete that wants to get equipment, or you guys also do seminars and things like that? So whatever.
Yeah, just go to eleiko.com and you can best find your way to where you want to what you want to find. So eleiko.com.
Yeah, that's ELEIKO.com, folks.
Correct.
Awesome.
Stands for Electrical Installations Limited Company in Swedish.
That's right. If you want to find out the history, you got to go watch that Barbell Shrugged. Just YouTube Barbell Shrugged, Eleiko, and you will learn a lot about the barbell and about Eleiko as a company. That was again, fun show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Good to see you.
All right, cool. Yeah, I just turned off all the recording.